Even though Rider University has suffered great tragedies in the past few weeks, the Student Senate still is able to stay strong and resilient as they talk about various topics, including the anticipated winter sports season.
We got three really good teams that have a lot of energy and a lot to offer as far as things for you guys to do and come out and support. And I think that you should really support all three teams because they're your fellow students and they work their tails off just like you guys do and all the activities that you do. So I think we need to support each other as much as we can.
Also, a new club was proposed to enhance the public relations program and increase student planning skills.
Some of the things that the club would be doing would be to help other clubs and organizations plan events if they sought our help. Also academic departments and possibly off campus in the local community. So it works really well with this new Inside Out campaign we have, starting on the interior with departments and clubs, helping them plan successful events and going out into the community. It not only gives us experience as future event planners, but it also helps the community, our rider community and the outside community.
Also proposed was a Relay for Life campaign at Rider, where benefits will go to the American Cancer Society.
Rider could raise upwards of $100,000 to go towards the American Cancer Society. And if you get the outside community involved, you'll get just as much, you'll get way more, money and you'll get more people involved.
From Spotlight on Student Government, I'm John Schulter.
Welcome to Spotlight on Student Government. I'm your host, Brian Persons. Today we have the pleasure of being in the Student Leadership Suite, and I'm here with Charles Burton from Senate. How are you, Charles?
Good. Good to be here.
Excellent. So what role do you play in Senate?
I'm a alternate senator for Hill Residence Hall, and I'm also there to observe the Senate when I'm not voting and to take part in the different committees that come out of Senate, such as the Constitutional Review Committee, which I'm on, the Housing Committee that was created out of Senate from members of the Senate who want to serve on it, and various other committees, such as the new Alcohol Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay. Do you think Senate has been doing things to fix the problems that are on campus? I know you've been in Senate since freshman year.
Yes, since my freshman year, first semester.
Can you compare the way that they did it back then to the way that they do it now?
Well, I think every year since I started in the fall 2003 year, I think Senate's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot more organized. I think last year under the leadership of Nick Barbati, you saw a really strong Senate take shape. And this year, too, I think it's a very good Senate. I think what's good about Senate is, and by keeping it organized, by moving the location to Swigert Auditorium, and with proactive leadership on behalf of our current SGA Vice President and the head of Senate, Brian Puelko, you're finding that there is a dialogue about issues. There are speakers that are being brought into the Senate to talk about the relevant issues on campus from the administrative and staff end, and students are allowed to respond, to ask questions, and to debate these issues themselves. So I think we're seeing a very positive dialogue going on, and I think we're moving in the direction of positive action coming out of the Senate, being inspired by the Senate. The other thing you have to understand about the Senate is it's only one part of the governing structure at Rider University. Okay. There's a lot of leadership and action coming out of our tripartite committees, such as the Student Life Committee, among others. And there's also the work that each individual sub-government, such as RHA or ACS or the Greeks do. But I think the Senate's playing a key role in governing this campus and representing the students.
Excellent. Does President's Council play a role in the way that students make decisions on this campus?
Absolutely. What's interesting about the President's Council is it's the Student Government Exec Board, the Cabinet, or the two teams would be a better way to say it, which is everybody from the events coordinator to diversity chair to the clubs and organizations chair, along with the presidents of the class councils and the presidents of the subordinate governments, from the finance board chair to the president of PanHel and president of ACS, among the other ones. And it's a room full of the most powerful student leaders on campus, for the most part. And there are plenty of other students who are engaging in leadership as well. But for the most part, it's a good representation of the most senior leaders on campus talking about the issues of the day, listening to reports from different speakers, everyone from, I know the president spoken to President's Council, to Dean Campbell, to other members of the university. So it's a vital component. And actually, President's Council, when you look at the SGA Constitution, President's Council is the executive branch, Senate is the legislative branch, and the judicial branch is more for student discipline and the community standards boards.
Yeah, that would be the community standards board, okay.
So President's Council is a key component in that. They're more, I think President's Council has become more of what the U.S. Senate is in the United States government, in that it's more of a deliberative body.
They just discuss issues instead
They take
of,
action, but they discuss the more fine points of issues. They're able to go into issues even more deeply than you can in Senate. Senate's sort of become the equivalent of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Okay.
It's the closest to the students on campus from all of the constituency groups, and they talk about issues, but they go through numerous issues instead of focusing only on one or two issues in each meeting, which is what President's Council can do. President's Council can have a big, multifaceted meeting where they could focus on one sole issue, and out of that will come
something greater.
Really strong policies and greater action.
Do you think more people or groups need to be represented in Senate? Do you think more groups have to get involved for things to get done on this campus?
I think a lot of the groups on campus, if not all of them, are represented. Okay. I think one of the enduring problems with Senate has been the size of Senate. There's been a lot of criticism that it's a little bit too big for its own good, and I believe that as well. And that's one of the issues that we continue to look at on constitutional review committees each year, looking at the size of Senate and if the right people are represented. But I think right now you do see great representation, and I think unfortunately in some cases you see double representation in that the SGA teams, such as events coordinator, also votes in President's Council. SEC has a vote in the Senate as they do in the President's Council. So I think underrepresentation is not an issue.
It's almost like double representation.
Yeah, to a certain extent, and I think if everybody shows up, we're able to have quorum and people take an interest in what goes on. I think the meetings will only become more proactive and more meaningful to the student body and to all of the constituency groups.
I know that you were involved in the alcohol policy. What aspect of that are you involved with, and what things are going to be discussed?
Our first meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, the 13th.
What will be discussed?
I think what we're basically going to discuss is we're going to evaluate the new alcohol policy, how it's affecting the different student groups on campus, whether it be residents and Greeks, or even how commuters feel about it when they visit their friends on campus. And I especially know that we have some commuters who are Greek students as well. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to look at what the future is regarding the alcohol policy. Do we have to rewrite or take a look at the social events policy? What's the future use of the pub going to be? Are the pub nights now working? Should we have more pub nights? As you know, this year we have 18 to enter, 21 to drink nights. We have nights in the pub where organizations can sponsor a pub night that's open to their organization and their guests to kind of foster an environment in which positive consumption of alcohol, being in the presence of positive consumption of alcohol is important. And we're going to look at that. We're going to see how it's working, see if we can do more. And basically, I think it's going to be open-ended in what we discuss and what we look to focus on.
We have heard this over and over in the Senate that the school has no tolerance of hatred. What is your stance on this as well?
Diversity is certainly a very important issue on campus. Recently, we've had a few incidents of pure hatred being shown by unknown members of the university community or even guests on campus. It still hasn't been determined who's been guilty of some of the slanderish writings we found among other events. Diversity is very important. I mean, in higher education, in college, we're supposed to have open minds. The best thing you can lose is a closed mind. And through organizations such as Black Student Union, LASSO, ASAR, and through the work of Student Government's Diversity Chair, Devendra Brijlal, I think you see students trying to foster a community of understanding, a community whose many values include the following value of hate not spoken here. Listen, there's certainly freedom of speech, and we want people to express their opinions on campus, but not if it's going to hurt someone else. We want to educate students. I know student government does, and many of these other organizations want to educate students about the value of an open world and show them that closed-mindedness is what led to the Holocaust. Closed-mindedness is what led to slavery and continuing so long in America, leading to the American Civil War, and then 100 years of and more of bias going on with separate but equal and all those other problems. I think one of the things that we can do, besides talking about and holding forums where we meet with the administration and take our leaders from our great organizations such as BSU, ASAR, and LASSO, and student government, is to kind of look at ourselves, to kind of remind ourselves that diversity and stopping hate, stopping misunderstandings regarding diversity start with ourselves. By thinking about each time that we say, well, something's gay, or we make a joke about someone looks like a terrorist or this and that, those are issues too that foster a culture of misunderstanding and a lack of diversity. So there's a lot of things that students can do. One of the greatest things that every student can do is step up and become an advocate. Become an advocate for your fellow students. You can be a Caucasian student and go to Black Student Union meetings. You could be a straight student and go to GSA meetings, Gay Straight Alliance meetings. That's what it's about. It's about opening your mind, expanding your horizons, and standing together with your fellow students and saying, hate is not spoken here. A closed mind is the best thing to lose, and an open mind is the best thing to embrace. And I know that Student Government Association, I know that myself, our president, Laura, and our diversity chair, Devendra, along with many other members of this campus community, and all of the other sub-governments and the organizations, again, like BSU and ASAR, among others, want to encourage diversity, want to encourage unity. And I know that we value this as one of the pillars of a successful education and as a successful life value to hold on to and take with us for the rest of our lives.
Now, how does diversity and political correctness come into play? You said that people might say, oh, this is gay, or that person might look like a terrorist. How does those two things connect, or don't they?
I think it's certainly important. Listen, by hiding something through the use of humor, by hiding something by hiding prejudice, by just talking about it with your close group of friends, but being politically correct in public, I still believe that you're engaging in ignorance. You're still engaging in a closed-minded approach to life, to humor, to anything else. Political correctness is important. Sometimes it's taken too far, but if political correctness keeps us from hurting those of a different gender, hurting those of a different sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, or origin, then you know what? Political correctness is important. We need to be careful about what we say.
Because you don't know who you're going to hurt.
Often, there are plenty of times where people say things or do things that are innocent, but it just hurts someone so much that you have to think to yourself, well, that off-the-cuff remark is not appropriate. You don't want to be hung by the tongue, where you're a good person, you're positive, you embrace diversity, but you let a slur slip out that offends someone's sexual orientation or someone's race, because that's just as important too. Focusing on diversity is not just focusing on getting rid of the news incidents that are happening around the country. It's also focusing on education. What's going on in our classrooms, educating students about the world, that we're a global world order, and about educating students that we have to embrace everybody, no matter what their religion is, no matter their sexual orientation, gender, or race, or heritage, because it's important. Because we have just too many events throughout the course of history that's hurt people because of what they believe, because of what they look like. And in the year 2007, we can do better than that. we can offer more than a closed-minded approach to life. And that's one of the things that we're looking at. And if a little bit more political correctness
Needs to be
is the
added.
key, then let's do it, because diversity is extremely important. I mean, one of the things we have to keep in mind is, with some of these news incidents going on, with some of the hatred still taking place, would Martin Luther King be happy with the world that we're in today?
I really don't. I don't think so.
Yeah, or would he say, can you do more? I think he'd be happy with some of the things, such as Atlanta is an integrated city now, and there are many upper middle class and upper class black neighborhoods, just like there are white neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods, but we can do more. We can certainly do a lot more.
And you want to see Ryder do the same.
And I want to see Ryder do the same, whether it's admitting more underrepresented minorities on campus, whether it's embracing new cultures and embracing different religions. We can do more. And I know student government wants to do more. I know the students at this campus want more, and we're going to stop hate, because that's one of our #1 priorities during our time here and in life.
All right. Thank you, Charles, so much for coming out this week. This has been another enlightening episode of Spotlight in Student Government. I'm your host, Brian Persons. See you next week.